Over the course of the shutdown and comeback of NASCAR, the schedule revamp has really been left on the back burner, and for good reason, as it isn't really in any way the most important subject to focus on. Those running the sport have been put in the nearly impossible scenario of both keeping the sport afloat in these uncertain times while also restarting it. But looking ahead to the 2021 season and beyond, there are a few bright glimmers in the eyes of many NASCAR fans. The next-gen car is coming in 2022. There seems to be a new air of confidence in the sport, and there's also looking to be big schedule changes soon. So today, I figured that we'd look back at the tracks that everyone has seemingly been talking about to be added to the Cup schedule. Starting off, we're going to get two tracks out of the way right away that a large subset of fans want but really have no chance of getting back. Rockingham and North Wilkesboro. As much as I would love to see both of these tracks make a comeback and will back any comeback opportunity in any way, I just don't see it happening. These two great tracks have had their time in the spotlight and it is long since passed. The past 30 years of the sport, along with NASCAR's current position, really have hammered it in that these two tracks are done for. Next up are street courses. The two that keep getting mentioned are Los Angeles and Chicago. Both of these are huge markets that NASCAR has tried to get a foothold in for decades. And with the futures of Chicagoland Speedway and Auto Club Speedway possibly being at risk, it would be a good way to replace them. But with how both cities and states have fared in the COVID apocalypse and how they aren't exactly already NASCAR cities, it tells me that they probably won't be on the schedule anytime soon. The next track that has been up and talked about recently is IRP. IRP is a track that was raced at in the lower series and has become a fan favorite. The only problem? It's in the same city as the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And I don't think Roger Penske and NASCAR want eyes away from the big house when Cup comes to town. So IRP is probably off the table as well. We'll stick with the Midwest for the next track, Road America. Road America is a huge road course in Wisconsin. The track has put on great racing for years in the Xfinity Series and more than likely would do the same in Cup. This also would add another road course, a type of track that both fans and drivers are pretty much salivating over. The only problem I see is that the track isn't in an area where NASCAR could grow its fan base out largely like it wants to. I'd say that this track is more of a maybe verdict. Going back to Indiana, we're going to look at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, but the road course instead of the main layout. This track layout is being used in 2020 as a doubleheader for both the Xfinity Series and IndyCar. So, this has shown that NASCAR is open to new things at the facility. The only way I see Cup running this layout is if they are desperate. They're going to want to try and keep the oval for the Brickyard 400, but at the rate it's going, I could see the road course being used as a last resort. So I do think there's a real chance that the Indy road course could be on the schedule someday. Moving on, let's play in the dirt a little bit. Eldora. Eldora is a track that many want to see in Cup. It'd be a welcome return to the roots of the sport to see the best of stock car drivers racing in the dirt. The trucks have raced here since the early 2010s, but have admittedly lost the luster in recent years. It would be a big way to keep Eldora special by having it as maybe a midweek race for Cup. The big holdups really are that, for one, a whole new package would have to be made for only one race, and number two, Tony Stewart owns the track and he's a team owner. Of course, NASCAR has before and can again change their rules as they go, so it's not off the table. This is another track that really could have a chance to be on the Cup Series schedule one day. From one of the biggest dirt tracks in America to one of the most state-of-the-art facilities now, we look at COTA, the Circuit of the Americas. The final road course on this list is one that is world-class, raced at by both IndyCar and Formula One. It would be fitting to see America's largest racing series in NASCAR race here. This would be a good replacement for one of the floundering Texas races as well. The biggest hurdle is that Texas Motor Speedway is obviously in Texas, and having it nearby has always been a problem. If NASCAR maybe swallowed their pride a little bit, they could play second fiddle in a doubleheader with themselves leading into the F1 race there. A wild card for sure, but I do think that there is a real shot for this one if they're able to do it. Next up, we have the first track on the list that I think has a great chance to be in Cup, Gateway. This is a track that really has gained a lot of love from racing fans across the board in recent years. NASCAR fans love it for the lower division moments with Xfinity and trucks especially. It definitely could host a good Cup race. And by no means do I want to disrespect IndyCar here, but they nearly sold out the place. And I think Cup could do much better. Add to this that it's in St. Louis, a market that does need to fill a bit of a sports void, and also that Chicagoland is by no means safe for the future, and I would bet money that by the end of the decade, Gateway would be on the Cup schedule. Adding another shorter Midwestern track, I'm going to look at Iowa now. The Iowa Speedway has been on the minds of fans to be moved up to the Cup Series for well over a decade now. The track surface is incredibly worn down, and multi-groove racing is definitely in play. This track does have a low seating capacity, but in a modern Cup Series, that really wouldn't be an issue. It's popular and would have tons of hype heading into the initial start, and would be a prime place for either maybe a doubleheader or a midweek race in the summer. The only hurdle is that all Iowa races have been canceled this year, so don't expect the track to be added until probably around the end of the current TV contract around 2024 or so. The final and most likely track that I think will be added to the Cup schedule is the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. The track is primed to be the next track to come out onto the Cup schedule. The track has also been redesigned to fit in with the newer soccer stadium right next door. Nashville is a city that is also very much on the up and up, and especially is a fast-growing sports city. Add to this the millions of dollars poured into the track and the year-ending banquet, and you have a no-duh when it comes to adding this track onto the schedule. A far cry from the negative look that it had in 2019. The question is when? Well, in my opinion, I think that this could be on the Cup schedule as early as next year, 2021, and definitely in the next 2 or 3 years. This, without a shadow of a doubt, is the most likely track to be added to the Cup Series. But now, I want to pass on the topic to you. What do you think is the most likely new track to be added to the NASCAR Cup Series schedule? Let me know down in the comments below. And while you're at it, leave a like on the video and subscribe to my channel for more great NASCAR content. And until next time, have a good one.